The Snarly Yow is often reported as chasing cars, which, as a lot of our listeners probably know, is like really prevalent in Dogman lore. I mean, go check out our Dogman, Michigan Dogman series that we did. That shows up time and time again in Dogman encounters, these things chasing cars. So I thought that was pretty cool as well.
It's like 90% of the Michigan Dogman encounters are roadside or something on the side of
Yeah,
the road.
even
But I
like,
mean, that's
Bray Road and stuff, you know?
I mean, it might just be a normal characteristic of dogs because I mean, like they may not think that it's actually like a person in a car that they're necessarily attacking. They could just think it's an animal bigger than them, and they might just be trying to go in that defense mode, kind of like we were talking about a long time ago with this whole thing. That they chase them because they're trying to chase them out of their territory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do think it's kind of funny how many, dog like behaviors these things tend to have.
And I mean, is it a matter of they are fully dog like with those characteristics, or is it that people look for dog like characteristics because of what they are?
I mean, that's probably one of those situations that you know, some connection of the two at that point, you know?
Because at least for cars, I feel like it's pretty semi-universal for a lot of cryptids. I mean, not necessarily chasing the cars, but just like roadside sightings. Like if you see like a dog jump out and run across the road, you're gonna instantly go into fear and think it's gonna start chasing the car. But if you see like a Sasquatch across the road, you assume that it's gonna go off into the woods. Part of that just may be our mentality of what we think's happening, especially in a high pressure situation. I mean, it seems like it's a normal thing to see cryptids along roadsides for whatever reason. And depending on your state of fear at the time of seeing it could depend on how you interpret the situation on whether or not it's just trying to get away from the car or if it's physically actually chasing the car. I mean, like Mothman flies next to the side of the car. I mean, again, it could be a territorial thing, just trying to scare people away from that area because they're seeing it as their territory. Not necessarily people, but again, thinking the car may be another bigger creature.
Well, and kind of talking about being seen near roads and whatnot, in the notes I've got that these creatures across the world are often reported seen near roadways and bridges and even like graveyards, which are all considered liminal spaces where a lot of high strangeness and things like that just tend to happen. So maybe there is some kind of connection, with like ley lines and energy and these liminal spaces that kind of act as a magnet for these things.
I mean, even with the roads too, a lot of the time where these roads are that cryptids are usually seen next to, they're cutting through like the middle of a forest, for example. So it's like it's disrupting the forest. So maybe it's not necessarily that they're like drawn to the road, but rather that it's an obstacle in the middle of where they're supposed to be. It's like an unnatural thing that's not supposed to be there. So by like stirring up the land to create that road in the middle of the forest, you stir things back up that wouldn't normally be seen unless you're disrupting the land.
Yeah, and that gets back to I think it's Bray Road, where like one of the first sightings was it digging in like a Native American burial mound or something like that. So yeah, disrupting the earth seems to bring about this sort of activity a lot of times.
And I mean, these may even be protectors of grave sites theoretically, because I feel like most Native American graves, you may not even realize where they are. There may be single graves, there may be whatever, but assumably too, a lot of these graves may have some type of like protection to them. And maybe the protection is that when these things are disrupted, then this thing comes out. And I mean, again, people may not realize it. Maybe it might be a couple inches lower or something than they're actually digging for the road, but there is some type of like burial area. And by
Yeah,
disrupting these things, they're actually like opening up, I don't want to say a curse, but like opening up a protection spell, so to speak. And then these things are now seen in this area.
yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense because I mean, a lot of that stuff would be so old, we'd have no idea what was there at that point, you know?